Welcome back, lovely Godot people. In this video, we're going to improve on the functionality of our story. We've got it at a pretty good stage, right? We can take inputs from the player, insert those into a story, and display the story to the player, and then restart the game. But what we can't do at the moment is have a bunch of stories without some very messy code. So in this video, we're going to start using a template, and to do that, we're going to use dictionaries. Dictionaries are awesome. Let's have a quick look at what a dictionary is before we go any further. So I've talked a bit about what a variable is, right? And I'm going to use Ben's image of a variable as a box that can have any kind of value in it. Some are strings, some are floats, some are integers, some are booleans. There's a whole bunch of different things it can be. And we've looked at an array. Now, an array is actually a special kind, it's supposed to be an A, there we go, a special kind of variable. And in this case, it's helpful to think of it as a shelf. It's a shelf on which we can put a whole bunch of boxes, and each box, very good box drawings, each box has a position, and we can find them by position. So if I change this to a nice red color, this is position 0, this is position 1, this is position 2. And each one of those boxes can be any type of variable we want. So far, so good. So a dictionary is very much like an array with a couple of key points. In a dictionary, we have a key, is a beautiful key, plus a value. What do I mean by that? I mean that everything within a dictionary is going to have some kind of key, and all keys must be unique, a colon, and then a value. The unique key, and once again, must be unique, can be anything. It can be a string, it can be another variable, it can be all kinds of stuff. And the value is exactly as it would be in the array. So whereas we'd be position 0, here we'll do key mongoose, because the key could be anything, right? We could call this mongoose, donkey, Ben likes donkeys, toucan. And unless these things are actually defined in the script, they'll probably be strings like that. So I could say to the dictionary, go to donkey, which is the key, and tell me what's in there. And here are our values. Note that dictionaries aren't sorted. So in an array, I'll say to it, go to position 3. The dictionary doesn't keep track of what's in what position. It only looks at things by key. Okay, now I've told you that's pretty awesome, and so far it just sounds like extra complexity. What's a good use case of this? Well, let's imagine that we're making a survival RPG, and we have this lovely inventory system, right? It's a nice drag and drop grid-based system. And we've told it that this is position 0, position 1, position 2, and so on within our inventory. And inside the inventory, we have a pickaxe, a hatchet, a sword. I mean, these are like classic tropes within survival games, right? And what I can do is I can say, okay, when the player puts something in here, add that value to key 0. Add this value to key 1. Oh, the player has pressed 0. Tell me what's in key 0. Oh, it's the pickaxe? Give the player the pickaxe, right? This is a really good way of dealing with things like inventory management. Not just inventory management, there's all kinds of other things we can do, but this is a good use case. I love dictionaries. They're incredibly fun. Okay, but how's it going to help us in our game? Well, I'm very glad you asked that question. And if you didn't, I'm going to pretend you asked it. It's cool. So we're going to make a variable. This test variable is called my dictionary. And we're going to define it by putting curly brackets around it. And if you're coming from a language, a C-based language like C++, C#, and you've been going, dude, where are my curly brackets? It's okay, dude. They're right here. We're going to define a dictionary with curly brackets. Now, if we had an array, we'd have value 1, value 2. If we have a dictionary, we're going to have key, value, key, value. Awesome. But this doesn't explain why this is useful to us. Well, what if we don't call it my dictionary? What if we call it current story? And what if we don't call it key and key? What if we call it prompt, which is going to have an array of strings, and story, which is going to have a string? Because remember I said this value could be any variable? And remember I said an array is technically a variable? We can have a dictionary with an array as one of its values. And that is going to make this really awesome. Well, let's take a look at why and get into script. So here we are back in Looney Lips, and I'm going to go into distraction-free mode. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new variable, and I'm going to call it current story. Okay, so what's current story? Let's define it as a dictionary. And the first key is going to be prompts. Why am I putting it like this? Let's just give it a key. There we go. Why am I putting it in quotation marks? Because in a moment, I'm going to remove this completely. And if I don't have this in quotation marks, it's going to look for a variable called prompts. And there isn't one. So this is clearly not going to be a 0. It's going to be this array. So I'm just going to copy this array. And I'm going to get rid of line 4. Goodbye, line 4. So right now, I have a current story, which is a dictionary with a single value in it. It has a key, separated by a colon, and then the value. And the value happens to be an array. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to put this on the next line, the curly brackets. Within a dictionary, we can do this. And the convention in Godot is if we are continuing a single line of code onto the next line for readability, we're going to tab twice. By the way, it's saying here prompts is not declared in the current scope. Don't worry, we're about to fix that. Okay, I need my next entry in this dictionary. So I'm going to put a comma, go down to the next line, and 2 more tabs. And this is going to be story. Nope, it's going to be story. There we go. And I'm just going to copy this entire string. So, in fact, I'm going to cut it. And now I can go back up to the top of the line, get rid of this variable completely. Okay, so what I've just done is I've just moved both of these variables into current story. We no longer need them as variables, so they're gone. And instead I have a string called prompts as a key and a string called story as a key. This is the beginning of our template system. Awesome. You know what? Let's make this even more legible and put it like that. Okay, cool. Now I can take a look at this and see instantly, these are the prompts, this is the story. Well, let's fix this. So 39, identifier prompts is not declared in the current scope. Scroll down to 39. Now, luckily 3.1 is doing this error checking beforehand. Earlier versions of Godot didn't. You didn't error check until runtime, which got a little annoying. So what's happening here? Well, I've got prompts being called, but there is no longer a variable called prompts. Instead, it's a key within current story. So let's call current story dot prompts. This means look at the key called prompts within current story. And specifically, look at the key and count its size. Cool. Now I've got line 50. I'm just going to click on it. Current story dot story. And the next one is right here. So may I have current story dot prompts. And that should be all of them. This is good because it means I don't have to mess around with find and replace. I don't have to go through them manually and check all of them. The error code comes here. I can just click on the red words and it'll jump to that line. Let's check this works. Welcome to Looney Lips. We're going to tell a story and have a wonderful time. May I have a name, please? Name. May I have a noun? Mouse. May I have an adverb? Squeaky. There's a mouse finger puppet on my desk. That's why I'm thinking this. Don't look at me like that. I teach kids. May I have an adjective? Loud. Once upon a time, someone called Name ate a mouse-flavored sandwich which made him feel all squeaky inside. It was a loud day. Actually, that story kind of works, doesn't it? I can press the button and it all works. So we have the same functionality. Okay. So at the moment, we have a single story, and we've just moved both variables into a single place, so they're nice and neat, but I want to make this expandable. I want a variable called template. In fact, I'm going to rename current story to template. And let's make a new variable called current story, so that Godot doesn't complain. You're calling current story and it doesn't exist. Okay. Now, template can't be a single dictionary, right? Because we can't because each key is going to have to be unique. I can't have multiple keys called prompts. So somehow I need a way of having multiple dictionaries in here. And I know how to do that because I can make an array of dictionaries. So now I can do this. And between each story, I can press comma and add in a new series of keys, right? So I'm going to make a new dictionary right here. And in it, I'm going to put prompts and make a new story with a new prompt. So this is my challenge to you. I'd like you to add at least one new story to the template. Pause the video, add at least one more story, prompts and story. And remember, you can do these in either order. You can do the story first and then the prompts, or the other way around. It doesn't matter. It's not an ordered list. It's picked by key. Pause the video, give that a shot, and when you come back, I'll show you my solution. And welcome back. Okay, so I said we could do this in either order. I'm going to do the story first because it's easier. Why can't I write the word story? And to keep it nice and neat, I'm going to put spaces there. And I'm going to write there once was... Oops. There once was a noun called Name who searched far and wide for the mythical adjective noun of name. Okay, I've been listening to Mythos and Heroes by Stephen Fry, so I'm in a Greek myth kind of view, so let's make a myth. And this is going to be prompts. And let's go through these. There once was a noun, so I'm going to copy you and then replace you with %s and put an array of strings. A noun called, and so on. I'm just going to fast forward this. Okay, that should do it. So let's just double check I've got everything. So I've got a key called story that has 1, 2, 3, 4 strings, and I've got prompts 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. I've separated the two entries in my dictionary with a comma, and I've closed off the array. Awesome. So now we have 2 stories. Well, I actually have more than 2 stories because I've created a bunch of others. So I'm going to fast forward and bring them in. And here we are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different stories. That's quite a lot, and it takes up a lot of room. So what I'm going to do is this little down arrow. Arrow? No. There's a little down arrow next to the template. I'm going to click that, and it's going to collapse it. See how we go from line to 5? See how we go from line 5 to 39? Great. I can expand that again. We are going to move all these out of the script in a later video, right? This is a lot of data that doesn't really need to be in this script. Later we're going to separate them, but it'll work for now. Okay, so I have a template, but I'm still looking for current story. What we need to do is pick a random story from the template. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is figure out how to set the current story. In fact, you know what? Let's make a function to do just that. So let's call this pick current story. And I'm going to put that right here. So function pick current story. And I'm going to define what current story is. So current story equals, it's going to be something from template, right? And template is an array with dictionaries inside it. So I need to pick one of those dictionaries. Well, I know how to pick a certain attribute from this, but I don't know which one to pick. And it turns out I need to use random integer. And if I hold control and press random integer, we can see it returns a random 32-bit integer, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use random integer, modulate by, and then the number we want to set as the maximum. Note, by the way, we're going to start at 0. So if I say random integer modulate 20, it's going to go from 0 to 19. If I want between 1 and 20, I have to do modulate by 20 plus 1. Okay, so I've got random integer, modulate by, what am I modulating? By the size of the template. So template.size. Now, currently there are how many stories? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories. And it's going to count those, but subtract 1. Well, that's good because I'm going to be counting by position. This is not position 1, this is position 0. So actually random is going to do exactly what I want it to do in this case. Except it's not actually going to pick anything random. Why not? Because of the way computers deal with random numbers. You see, computers are very bad at random. Humans are very bad at random too, but computers are very bad at random because they don't know how to do that. What computers normally do is look at what's the current time and date and generate something from that. Now, in order to get it to actually randomize or be as close to random as possible, we need to use the randomize function. Randomize is built into Godot. And what this does is pick a random number. And you might be thinking, well, why do I need to do this? Isn't this like rolling dice? Can't I just roll them? And the answer is no, it's not actually like rolling dice. It's like shuffling cards. You see, when I say random integer, what I'm doing is I'm saying pick the top card. Randomize tells it to shuffle. Every time I want it to reshuffle, I need to redo randomize. I can also give it a seed and say, put the cards in this order, but we don't need to do that. Okay, before we test this out, a quick thing. Pick current story isn't quite right, is it? It should be set current story. Or pick random story, one of those two. Let's call it set current story. And when I press play, I'm going to get an error. What's error by guessing? There's no such thing called prompts. I know what I've done. Okay, I'm going to open my template. One of my stories has prompts. Two of my stories has prompts. A bunch of them have prompt because I got silly. So I'm just going to call these all prompts. One more time. To Looney Lips, we're going to tell a story and have a wonderful time. May I have a thing, please? Cow. May I have a name? Bertie. A description word, an adjective, please. Cute. A thing, earring. There was a cow called Bertie that lived as cute as an earring. Look at that. And now I press again. We're going to have a person's name. This is going to be Ben. Name of a place, Ben's house. A plural of a noun, donkeys. He likes donkeys. That's not how you spell donkeys. Doesn't matter. An adverb of I don't know why. Hesitantly. A noun, hippopotamus. Hippo. I'm not spelling hippopotamus. Dear Ben, I hope this letter finds you well. I've spent the past 3 weeks in Ben's house reaching the history of donkeys for my new book. I miss you hesitantly, and whenever I see a hippo, I think of you. Look at that. That's looking amazing. And then I'm just going to make that a bit bigger. We have a fully scalable game. Now, this template needs to be neater because that's 30 odd lines of code that really don't need to be in the script. We're going to make that work later. But we have a pretty close to complete game. Which brings us to the end of this video. In this video, we've looked at the awesome power of dictionaries. We've looked at how we can nest arrays and dictionaries into each other, and how to generate random integers. So did you come up with any cool stories? Would you like to share them? Please do go onto the Discord, or onto the forums, or onto the Q&A, or on the Facebook group, and share any cool story templates you've made. Meanwhile, excellent work, and I will see you in the next video.